Hey everybody. So yeah, I managed to work a whole work day today, which made my wife super happy and my boss. So that was good. And now I started late, so I ended late, so it was a little later in the day for me than normal. But yeah, I made this cool animation. Basically, it's a spotlight, and the spotlight start position and the end position is in the same spot as the camera. So the camera's kind of going over and then going around. And I guess it kind of would emulate you, sort of you were flying over the top and you're facing down at it. And then I don't know, I guess it, yeah, because your whole orientation would switch. So that's why like as you were pulling away, obviously what's left and right switches for you. Um, so the blue would go to the right, because you would switch position as you rotated over the top, which is not something we would experience very often. And if we did, we'd probably be more focused with on like how our stomach and our eyeballs and all the blood would be rushing to our head as we as we came into this. So it's probably not something that we can really remember in real life because we're probably in freak out mode as we've gone over the top. But yeah, so that's that. So last time I created a Showtime service area and a three service area. And so today what I'm going to do is move something from the scene service into these other services. Um, and or into the probably let's go ahead and move our, and this is harder because this scenes is not going to talk to that or import it. So I need to do everything that is going to interact with that scene, which is everything. So in some ways, I guess I just need to copy the whole thing over, just spitballing like kind of what the best way to do that, and go over to three, go to my three scene service. And of course, copy and pasting the whole thing isn't going to make sense because the names are different. Um, so we definitely are good on that one. And we only want, well, we're going to bring some interfaces over, but we don't want to bring um, uh, any actual logics over. It is funny how in the United States we call it logic, but in Europe they call it logics. And I believe, let's see, what we want is another, yeah. And we will call it math here in the United States, and then in Europe, my understanding is they call it maths, as in plural. And and it kind of shows like what what we think is important in the United States, because in the United States we will typically call it sports because we love our sports. Um, and obviously to us, there's no way that you can group like football and basketball together because they are so crazy. But for us, maths, math, it's all the same. Whether you're talking about arithmetic or differential equations, it's all the same thing to us. It's just math, um, which is kind of funny. Let's see. I don't know why. What did we do that was weird over in the seam service? I guess this guy. Um, but it is like, I mean, we do take sports very, very seriously. Um, and honestly, like, I don't know what it's like in the rest of the world. Maybe it's like this, like in the rest of the world, but like most parents would probably much rather have a child that was a famous, um, that was a famous, um, like quarterback than a scientist. Um, like they just, like I mean, I think like most parents would be like, Like if your kid cured cancer or something like that, you'd be like, oh, that was amazing. But I don't think most parents, like if they just could have a kid that worked at, uh, I don't know, White Sands, New Mexico, in one of the, as some sort of very, very important scientist, or they could have a kid that was a quarterback on the Pittsburgh Steelers. That most parents, I think, would rather have the Pittsburgh Steeler kid. Okay, so we know that our setup scene is going to have to take a scene item instead of having the scene item declared. Um, and that then now, once it's passed in, that's how it's going to be. And let's see how it looks. I think that looks good. I'm pretty happy with that. Um, and then so let's see, where are we on time? We're still good. So I guess we can go through the same process. I don't even know if this is going to end up working out. Like um, sometimes you try stuff and it works. Sometimes you try stuff and it doesn't work. It's just the nature of. I mean, there is. I swear, like so many people think that software development and writing code specifically is a science. It's just like, okay, this is how you do it, and this is the pattern. And there are definitely aspects of it that are like that, but in general, um, it's really much more of an art, especially like more on the front end of in web development. You generally have to come up with like creative processes and procedures and all that. So now I should not have any ThreeJS stuff in this. This should not. All it should do is describe uh, how things work in Showtime, um, not in anything else. Now, some of the attributes that it manages may, or that it controls might, but there shouldn't be anything about ThreeJS in this one. So this is the thing we need. Scene item. Oh, okay, that's right. This is interesting because, yeah, the scene doesn't get created in the. It always messes me up because it doesn't get created in the UI. It's automatically created. Okay, so this is going to start off at -1. And then the rest of these things are all the default values. And then we already have a constructor. And then this isn't gonna do the setup scene. I don't think we need a setup scene. I think what we need is like get scene. So let me just get scene, and that will literally just return the setup, the scene item. And I feel like this is a lot more like kind of what you would expect to see in a very mature application. Sort of more of getters and setters and that kind of thing. Update scene. So it's going to take a scene item, and we're basically just going to take the scene item and do a shallow copy of it. and then I guess the manager is going to get the scene and set up the scene again. So that's good, I think. Um, so I guess the overall, just kind of spitballing and imagining here, like the next steps would be like when we go to create a scene, what we're going to do is get the scene from here, which is a scene item, and then it's kind and then what we'll do is we'll create the scene in the scene service, in the three scene service, right? So we'll do the setup scene, um, and then I guess this actually needs to return um, the scene, so that I guess that, yeah, that's weird. I probably need to return. I think I need to return the scene ID. Um, yeah. So, and who knows? We're kind of really. Um, so turn this dot scene. Let's get rid of our double this. Two thises don't make a that. Thank you, Rat. My parrot just left at my joke. Um, she's very easy to get along with, although she is a bit noisy. All right, so yeah, so we will we'll get this scene item, we'll give it to the scene setup scene, that will return an ID, then we will update, uh, but probably in the manager, we'll add the ID into the scene item, and then I could add like an add ID. I wonder if that is worth it. Or if we just let the manager update the scene item with an ID, send it in, and then the scene item gets updated. Um, it does make me wonder, like, what's going on with publishes. Like, do I publish an array of scenes? I don't think so. Let's go ahead and look at our scene service real quick. I don't think we have an array of scene items. Oh yeah, we do. Okay, so oops, Control Z. Okay, yeah, I thought that we must, because I thought everything that I published was in an array. Okay, so when this thing gets created, it's not going to have a scene item. So basically, outside within the confines of this, there's a scene item and a scene items array. Outside, all there is a scene items array. And I guess that's not true because you can get the scene. Um, so maybe it should be get scenes, but and I guess it does make sense to actually have that in there even with the -1, and then I guess scene items is equal to this scene item, which it already is, but I actually can't. Now I'm trying to imagine. Um, I think this is going to create a whole new copy and put it in there. So I think scene items um, is actually going to be pointing towards the pre-updated scene item. Um, so I don't know. I don't actually know for sure what's going to happen with uh, with this. And I don't even know if it's a smart idea to maintain like this standalone and then this, or if I should just automatically put it in there. But I'm going to keep it like this for now. And if it ends up being a problem, um, I think I think that should definitely be like this though. So now nobody has any access to this directly. So there's no chance of these getting out of sync. So we return this one to 0. They'll if it'll get modified by the manager that's currently called 3JS, and it will already be updated. But then we're going to wipe it out and put a new scene item, a copy of the scene item in there. So um, their reference will be an old reference that the manager has, and I think that keeps us pretty safe from weirdness. Um, I guess we'll probably need to add another, like a get scenes, and then when we do our publishes, um, we'll use the get scene, what we get from get scenes, not a direct call to the return scene items, not a direct call to the not getting it directly from the scene service, Showtime scene service, and I feel like that's better. Um, I can't actually put my finger on exactly why, but I do think that like when I used to interview back like in 2005 and 2003, 2002, I would always say, like my personal experience is that JavaScript software things just kind of fall apart once they hit about 10,000 lines. And I think that what kills them is that the memory management, there is no real true memory management in JavaScript. So in a lot of other languages, you can be like at memory XYZ 00053, we have this information, and then we are going to make sure that we we can always check to see that that is that. But in JavaScript, you name something scene item here and you keep a reference to it, and then somebody else gets a reference to it, some other thing like maybe a form or on the UI or something gets a reference to it too, and then you make a change in the array, in your listing, in your state basically, and you can't figure out why it's still the old value in in it, and things like that. We just always have problems like that, and um, this sort of techniques like this um, sort of mitigate that. Like, hey, I'm only going to let you get the scene. When I update the scene, I'm going to update this thing. Um, I'm only going to let you get something from this thing, from this data structure. I'm not going to ever give you. Um, I'm not going to just give you a direct um, reference to this thing. I mean, technically, you still are getting a direct reference to this thing, but the minute I update it, like this is the truth, right? Whatever is in this, the truth is always, if you go to this service, the Showtime service for scenes, you will get the truth from here. Um, yes, you could get some reference to it and all that, but if you want the actual truth, you need to call get scene. If you get a reference to it and hang on to it and do stuff to it and all that, and then something else actually does things the proper way, it does the get scene and it does the update scene, your reference is to some old thing. It's like um so like technically, like I could have a like two sets of code, and one set of code just gets the scene and starts making changes to it, and then another set of code goes and it gets a scene, it makes changes, and then it updates the scene. um, it's going to create a new, it's you're going to have a reference to the old one. The first thing is going to have a reference to the old one. This code here is going to kill that reference. That reference still exists because you have a reference to it, but it's going to create a new reference and it's going to put that reference in the list. And so anything else that says, hey, I'd like to get a copy of the scene is going to get this. So you're going to be sitting with an old reference that is stale, that when you make changes, nobody else knows about. If you want to make changes, you need to call update scene. And if you want to make sure you have the truth, you need to call get scene. Um, that's the way that works, and that mitigates a lot of those issues. Um, and we are starting to kind of move into a little bit of into some state management stuff. And I will say that, like, I could probably, like, I have never been able to actually implement NGRX or any of the existing state management, like, schemes that exist. I mean, I'm pretty comfortable with ArcGIS, but any of the state management schemes, because without just messing up. And I think the main reason that I generally haven't been able to get it right anywhere, and I do have a couple of associates that swear by it, by NGRX and those things. Um, but I think that probably the reason that they understand it so well and I don't is because they've built other state management schemes, and then they have a strong grip on what NGRX is bringing to the table. And I think a lot of these sorts of concepts they just take care of. But I don't really understand it, the stores and all that. And maybe once I do build sort of my own implementation of a state management, then I start reading what NGRX, like all of that, will probably make a lot more sense in context. And then I'll be like one of the cool kids and I'll be able to build NGRX things as well. But for now, like whenever I interview, I always just yeah, I've never been able to build an NGRX application without messing it up. But I'm extremely eager to learn how. Um, they tend to, like, I feel like they think that answer is okay. They would rather me be like, oh, I love NGRX. That's the best thing I've ever had. And these are the reasons why. Obviously, that would be preferable. But, just not being a really good developer, but you haven't used the API and you're very excited and interested in becoming good at using that API is an okay answer. Um, but you'd have to be able to, like, bring other pieces of the pie to the table. And that is that. 22 minutes. That's a bit long, um, but yeah. Happy cutting. Bye.